Working on our emotional response and what to do when we experience a trigger, right, is something that I talk to a lot of my clients about, right? Because sometimes we can feel almost powerless when a wave of anxiety hits, or we're getting into a fight with our significant other because they've done something that we think is awful or really is awful, or we're really angry about something that's not going your way at work, right? We all get emotionally triggered pretty often. And so cultivating a way to work with that and to have an intentional response rather than just reacting all of the time can be so transformative in how you feel more often. Hello, hello. I hope you're having a great day wherever you are in the world. Let's dive into some conversation about emotions. Emotions, right? All of the feelings, and specifically what you can do when you're feeling emotionally triggered or emotionally charged, and whether that is with anxiety or with anger or with fear or with sadness or whatever it might be. I am so grateful to be here and to have these conversations with you all. If we haven't connected yet, my name is Chelsea Connors. I am a certified life coach, therapist, speaker, and founder of the Practice Membership. And I am here to talk on and on and on about all of the things that most of us experience as humans, especially from an emotional well-being perspective, that we don't necessarily have a lot of conversation around, or that we try to push away or push down because we're focusing on other things, or we feel like we're not supposed to feel the way that we feel. And so emotions and emotional intelligence is a big part of that. And so working on our emotional response and what to do when we experience a trigger, right, is something that I talk to a lot of my clients about, right? Because sometimes we can feel almost powerless when a wave of anxiety hits, or we're getting into a fight with our significant other because they've done something that we think is awful or really is awful, or we're really angry about something that's not going your way at work, right? We all get emotionally triggered pretty often. And so cultivating a way to work with that and to have an intentional response rather than just reacting all of the time can be so transformative in how you feel more often, right? Because when we are just reacting all of the time, we kind of are giving our power away to everyone and everything that goes on around us. And that can feel just really scary, hard, disorienting, frustrating. And over time, if that builds and builds and builds and builds, it can lead to a lot of emotional experiences or a lot of really unhelpful and hurtful dynamics with the people around us, whether that's in our personal life, like friendships and romantic relationships, or our career and coworkers, or whoever it might be, right? So when you're feeling triggered, again, any kind of trigger, the first thing to do is to notice what's happening. And one of the best ways that you can do that is check in with your body, right? We tend to have a lot of physical sensations when we are feeling emotionally triggered, whether that's the heartbeat speeding up quite a bit, feeling a change in temperature, whether you're feeling really hot or really cold, right? You might notice that you are starting to feel short of breath, or like you can't catch your breath, or that you can't get the words out fast enough, or whatever it might be. A lot of times when we're living from just reacting, right? This is when clients will come to me and say, I got in a fight with my mom. I said this really awful thing. I know I didn't mean it. I hope she knows I didn't mean it. But in the moment, I just had to say whatever I could to get back at her. Who's been there? I think we've all been there, right? So, again, we want to notice when we're feeling emotionally triggered and start to tune into your body in the specific ways that it communicates with you when you're having some type of emotional response. Because it's going to look different for each and every one of us, which is beautiful and okay. But the more that you can tune in and start to notice, the better off you're going to be, because then we can have more awareness around those signals that our body sends us, right? The next thing that we want to do is to pause, right? When we think about the difference between reacting and responding, in the middle of that tends to be the power of the pause, which is something that I talk about quite often. And it's the moments that we can start to take once we recognize that we're feeling emotionally triggered, that give us a moment to center in and to check back in before we decide how we want to respond. And that pause is so powerful because it gives us the opportunity to decide rather than the reaction where then we live from that space where we feel more powerless to our emotional responses, right? So even by doing just that, cultivating more of an awareness of what it's like when you're feeling emotionally triggered, pausing to decide either how you want to respond or what you need in that moment, right? So maybe if you're feeling really angry about something and you feel like you know the words that are coming out of your mouth next are not going to be something that you really want to say or that is kind or compassionate towards somebody that you love, maybe your pause is responding and saying, hey, I feel really, really emotionally charged, or I'm really angry about what's happening right now. Can we take 5 minutes and come back? Or can we take some time? I need to process this and we can circle back, right? Clearly communicating what's happening for you, what you need, right? And asking for that can be really, really beneficial. Thinking about more than just this exact moment too can be really helpful, right? Because when we're in an emotional experience, we can forget that things aren't always this way or haven't always been this way, right? And this one, obviously, everything that I share here, it's going to look a little bit different for each and every one of you, depending on whatever situation you're going through, what the relationship looks like, the history of that, how the dynamics that you hold versus the person that you're having this situation with, right? It's all very unique. So again, just a reminder to take everything that I share with a grain of salt. Take what works for you, see how it might play into your life, but know that you are always the expert on you. So with that, right, being able to remind yourself of the impermanence, even when an emotion feels all encompassing and really huge, can be so, so helpful in helping us figure out how we want to engage with it and what it's asking from us, right? Because then we can remember that while we may feel enraged in a current moment, which is again beautiful, okay, it's happening for a reason, or we may feel really, really anxious and scared in a moment, again, it's okay. What part of that might be helpful or trying to communicate with you something, right? What part of that is unhelpful? What part of that is maybe not remembering that 24 hours ago you were feeling very differently, right? Or 3 months ago, you didn't always feel the way that you feel right now. And so it's possible to experience something different, right? That reminder in a moment when you're feeling very emotionally triggered and charged can be so, 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 so helpful. So there are tons of other things that we can do when we're feeling emotionally triggered and charged. But I'm going to leave you with that for today because I don't want to overwhelm you. And truly, if you can start to create more awareness, practice the pause, decide and communicate what you're needing, remind yourself of impermanence, right? and then come back to your bigger picture, right? How you want to be, who you want to engage with in your life, the values that you hold, that may help you experience emotions from a very, very different viewpoint and be able to have healthier communication, healthier conflict, navigate triggers in a different way. So jot those down if they resonate with you. Practice them as often as you can. Implement them. Go back to that list of a few things that I've mentioned here today when the next thing happens, right? And remind yourself that you are okay and nobody's doing this perfectly all of the time. The best thing that you can do is meet yourself where you're at and start today with what you have, knowing that you'll never be perfect. None of us will ever be perfect. We're never going to do it all right all of the time. And that conflict, even with people that we love the most, is super, super normal and healthy and okay. It's how we learn to engage with those emotional triggers that makes all the difference. Yeah? All right. So if this resonates with you, like it, share it, use it, take notes on it, whatever feels supportive for you. And if you're enjoying these videos, I would absolutely love if you subscribe to this channel below. And I will be back super soon with more juicy goodness all about the reality of our emotional well-being, tools and skills that we could all benefit from as adults and just people and humans in general. And I'll talk to you soon. I hope you are all having a wonderful morning, night, evening, day, wherever you are. Take care.